My name is Wallace King. I'm 72 years old, and this is the story of how I lost my wife and found my spine on the very same day.
You know, I looked across that open grave, and my son, Jason, he was watching me. And for the first time in my life, I didn't see my child. I saw a predator, just waiting for the right moment to strike.
You know, the rain in Seattle, it doesn't really wash things clean. It just kind of makes the dirt heavier. And it was pouring that day at the cemetery as they lowered my wife Beatrice's casket into the ground. But the chill I felt, man, that had nothing to do with the weather.
I mean, you'd expect to see your son grieving, right? Not mine. Now I see him arguing with the funeral director. I could hear him right over the rain, hissing, "I'm not paying extra for the brass handles. She's dead. She doesn't care about handles." And my daughter-in-law, Monica, oh, she was live streaming the whole thing, the whole funeral, pouting at her phone, whispering stuff like, "Guys, today is literally the hardest day of my life. Please send prayers and stars." Unbelievable.
The second the service was over, they cornered me. And let me tell you, they weren't offering me a home. They were offering me a prison cell that I had to pay for. Their big plan? I sell my house, give them all the money, and then, get this, pay them rent to live in their nasty, unfinished concrete basement. It was a business deal, plain and simple, discussed right there over my wife's grave.
And then, my phone vibrates. Blocked number. The voice on the other end was deep, authoritative. Turns out it's Alexander Pierce, CEO of Pierce Global, my wife's boss. And he didn't waste any time, he just cuts right to it. Tells me my wife didn't die of natural causes, and that the people standing right next to me, they were the reason I was in danger. My life, he said, depended on me getting to his office, right now.
So I head over to the Pierce Global Tower. In my mind, I'm just there to pick up a box, my wife's personal things. I had absolutely no idea I was walking into a war zone. No idea that the woman I'd slept next to for 40 years had been living a complete and total double life.
My B, that's what I called her. She was the woman who clipped coupons on Sunday mornings and made meatloaf every Thursday. For 40 years, she told me she was an administrative assistant, a level 3, whatever that meant. Answered phones, filed some papers, made coffee for the big shots. Or, so I thought.
So there I am, in his private office, and I'm talking a vault hidden behind a bookshelf, like something out of a movie. And Pierce just lays it all out. He tells me the truth. My wife, she didn't make $40,000 a year, not even close. On paper, she owned 15% of Pierce Global. She was worth $8 million.
So yeah, Beatrice wasn't some administrator. She was a fixer, a corporate fixer. When the company had a problem, a real problem, that the high-priced lawyers couldn't touch, my B, she solved it. My gentle wife, the woman who knit blankets for the church bazaar, knew where all the bodies were buried. Because, as he put it, she usually held the shovel.
And then Pierce hands me this file. And what's inside, it just guts me. It showed that my son, Jason, had siphoned off $500,000 from his employer. He'd come crying to his mother, begging her to fix it. And Beatrice, bless her heart, she worked herself to the bone trying to cover his tracks. The stress, it triggered the heart attack. My own son killed her, just as surely as if he'd put a gun to her chest. And now he was coming for me and my $2 million life insurance policy.
I went back to that house after leaving Pierce's office. He gave me a burner phone, a debit card, a whole contingency plan my wife had set up years ago. She was always one step ahead. So I went back, and I decided to play the part they wanted me to play, the grieving, confused old man. Little did they know.
And boy, did they move fast. Monica brings me this mug of milk, but it smelled off, faintly of chemicals. I faked a sip, and when she wasn't looking, I poured it into my wife's favorite peace lily. The next morning, the plant was completely dead. So then they moved me out of my own home and into their basement, a concrete box, no heat, no windows, and a deadbolt on the outside of the door. I was a prisoner.
That night, locked in that basement, I held the burner phone up to an air vent, and I recorded Jason on the phone with some loan shark named Vinny. And he confessed. He confessed everything, not just his plan to kill me, but the truth about my wife. The world just stopped. He didn't just stress her to death. He admitted it. He gave her a heart attack. He murdered his own mother.
After hearing that, a recording wasn't enough. Not anymore. I didn't just want him in jail. I wanted him destroyed. I wanted him to feel that same helpless, terrifying panic that Beatrice must have felt. So the game changed. This wasn't about survival anymore. This was about setting a trap.
So, over the next 48 hours, they were panicking, and I was the one pulling the strings. They brought in some disgraced doctor to try and declare me incompetent. I just scared him off with a name from one of Beatrice's old files. That was fun. Then Jason brings in a notary to force me to sign over power of attorney, so I accidentally spilled a glass of red wine all over it. Bought myself more time and pushed him even closer to the edge.
They were so desperate. So I gave them a little hope. A beautiful lie. I told them about a secret $5 million Swiss bank account my wife had hidden away. And the account numbers? Oh, they were in a little red diary. Their greed, you see, it was a powerful blinder. They completely forgot about killing me because suddenly I was the most valuable thing in their miserable little lives.
So I led them on this wild goose chase, from my now ransacked house all the way to a bank downtown where Pierce's people were waiting for them. But the final act, the real show, that didn't play out there. No, that happened in a courtroom 6 months later. And that's where the full weight of justice finally came crashing down.
So I get up on the stand and I read from Beatrice's real will, one she wrote 5 years earlier. And it had this thing called a character clause. See, she was prepared to give Jason everything, the whole $8 million, on just one condition. All he had to do was be a decent human being.
But the will went on. It said that if he ever caused me harm or if her death was from unnatural causes that involved him, the entire $8 million estate would be donated to charity. And in that event, Jason, my son, would receive the grand sum of $1 single.
And along with that $1, there was a letter from his mother. I read her last words to him, right there in the courtroom. "Goodbye, son. I hope the dollar is worth it." In that moment, Jason didn't just lose his freedom. He lost a future he was too greedy and impatient to just wait for. You know the saying? He burned down a castle just to steal the doormat.
The jury didn't even blink, convicted him on all counts. Life in prison, no parole. And me? I started over. Using the dividends from my wife's estate, I started something called the Beatrice Project. It's a legal aid foundation, and we protect elderly folks from predators just like my son. You could say we became the boogeyman for every greedy heir in the state.
You know, Beatrice taught me something. She taught me that true power isn't about shouting the loudest. It's about careful preparation. And she taught me that you should never, ever mistake a quiet man for a harmless one. My son, well, he learned that lesson the hard way. He lost his mother, his freedom, and a fortune he was already going to inherit. And for what? A little bit of cash, a little bit sooner? It really makes you think, doesn't it?